Welcome to the Wild Crone Wisdom podcast with your host Vinutha Mohan. In this episode, we explore one of the fundamental building blocks of an enlightened way of being in the world, the concept of non attachment and what it truly means to practice it. In the previous episode, I outlined the three fundamental building blocks of an enlightened way of being in the world, namely non attachment, non resistance, and non judgment. In this episode, let's take a deeper dive into the topic of non attachment. One of the common mistakes or misconceptions people have about non attachment is that immediately they think that it means not attachment. And in many spiritual circles, this leads to a sort of deadening or numbing of engagement with life. There are people that I have met or heard of who use this concept as an excuse to bypass life or responsibilities. That is not what is meant by non attachment. It means that we do not get hooked obsessively to certain outcomes or crave for certain objects, feeling states, or people. In Buddhism, they have a perfect word for this craving, tanha. It is hard to translate, but it is akin to unquenchable thirst. Buddhism also has a pretty symbolic representation of this craving, the realm of the hungry ghosts. In this realm, these ghosts are depicted to have a thin, straw like elongated neck and a huge belly. There is a large banquet in front of them, and as you can imagine, it takes an eternity to fill their large bellies through the straw like throat. It's pretty graphic and yet a powerful symbology of the state of craving. Whether it is chasing after name and fame, an ex lover, an addictive substance, money, attention, power, the suffering that follows this insatiable thirst is hell on earth. Non attachment is not attachment. We need a certain amount of healthy attachment to function in the world, do our duties, take care of our young. We need a healthy attachment to newborn infants in order to raise them with love and attuned attention, healthy attachment to our bodies to take good care of them, healthy attachment to our careers so that we have a good work ethic. Without a certain level of healthy attachment to our body, spirit, soul, and mind, we will not thrive on this earthly realm. Therefore, that isn't the problem. So, what is the problem? Everything is in life is on a continuum. There is a saying in India that beyond a certain threshold, even nectar becomes poison. So, what we need to watch is at what point does healthy attachment turn into an obsessive and compulsive clinging or craving? It is at that point that we start to not only cause suffering to ourselves, but also to others, especially the ones we claim to love. Buddha said it well that we hate suffering but love its causes. So, how do we avoid the problem of getting hooked by this craving? It requires a certain level of mindful attention to a few pointers. Practicing mindful meditation for 10 to 15 minutes a day can help you cultivate non attachment by allowing you to observe your thoughts and emotions without becoming entangled in them. This daily practice encourages a sense of detachment, a stepping back, fostering a calm and centered mind that is less affected by external circumstances. As you consistently meditate, you will develop the ability to let go of cravings and aversions, finding a deeper sense of peace and equanimity in your daily life. In Tibetan Buddhism, there is a word for it called Shenpa, which is usually translated as attachment, but it is more primal than that. It is the first sign of us getting triggered or hooked by something, a thought, belief, feeling, image, smell, and so on. If we practice even a little mindfulness, we can catch the initial moments of this Shenpa. Physical sensations such as face flushing, heart racing, pit in the stomach, emotions such as fear, anger, disgust, intense longing, sadness, dread, thoughts such as catastrophizing, all or nothing thinking, ruminating, generalizing, and maladaptive beliefs about self, others, and the world. The Buddhist teacher Pema Chodron outlines 4 R's to deal with this trigger: recognition, refraining, relaxing, and resolving. First, we recognize that the signs that we have been triggered through tracking our breath and physical sensations, as previously outlined. Then, we refrain from reacting impulsively based on our habitual patterns by slowing things down and noticing our thoughts, feelings, belief systems, the stories we are making up in that moment, and recognizing that our perception is one of 1,000 other perceptions about the situation. It is important that we do this inventory taking with kindness and non judgment. Otherwise, we only further spiral into a shame pit from which it can become very challenging to arise from. Once we understand what is happening, we can relax into it through deep breathing and examine the gap between the stories we make up about a situation and the truth of the experience. As the author Brene Brown says, it is in examining this gap with authenticity and vulnerability that we can arrive at the truth about our experiences and grow from them. You may also refer to my previous episodes on Tale of Two Choices, episode 16, and Stories, episode 9, on how to further work with this gap. Once we arrive at the truth of our experience, then we can find a peaceful resolution to the issue at hand. Many people worry that if we practice non attachment, that somehow it will make us less effective in the working world. As Brene Brown says, we wear our exhaustion as a status symbol and our self worth is tied to our productivity. But the truth is that in practicing non attachment, you actually widen your distress tolerance window, thereby having access to your whole brain. Then the solutions that come forth from you are innovative, creative, and holistic. People respect you as an emotionally intelligent leader and a team member. You learn to respond rather than react to a situation, and your solutions take into account the highest good of self and others. Tune into the next episode where I explore the second fundamental building block of non resistance. Thanks for listening to this episode of the Wild Crone Wisdom with your host, Vinutha Mohan. I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist from the Bay Area, California, specializing in trauma and attachment repair. I'm also a certified EMDR specialist and a certified shamanic practitioner. In this podcast series, we delve into the journey of our spiritual essence having a human experience. While many social scientists study human emotions, thoughts, and behaviors, and others explore transcendental experiences, few bridge the gap to help embody the spiritual wisdom in everyday life. I call this the psycho-spiritual path. Through this podcast, I hope to share bite-sized practical insights for navigating life as an empowered sovereign being. If you found this episode valuable, we'd greatly appreciate your support. Please consider rating, reviewing, commenting, and subscribing on your podcast platform to help us reach a wider audience. You can explore more of my writings on Medium by following the link in the show notes. We'd also love to hear about your experience, so feel free to share your thoughts with us at Wild Crone Wisdom Podcast at gmail.com. Thank you for being part of our journey. Please be advised The information provided in the Wild Crone Wisdom podcast is intended for general information purposes only. Vinutha Mohan is a licensed therapist and healer. However, the content shared in this podcast does not replace or constitute professional advice, therapy, or counseling. It is essential to consult with a qualified mental health professional for personalized guidance regarding your unique circumstances. Thank you.